This is Too Long for a Voice Note, a podcast about everything and nothing at the same time, presented by Claire
and Enzo. Our podcast is produced in London. Some conversations are just too long for a voice note.
Hi, she's Claire.
And he's Enzo.
This is Too Long for a Voice Note.
Hello.
Welcome everyone.
Back.
Welcome back.
How
to
is
new
everybody
episode.
doing out there?
Thank you guys for
thank you.
watching or listen or whatever you do with the podcast.
Listening.
Yes, thank you for coming back. Thank you for following,
Yes.
liking, sharing, all the things you do every single week.
Exactly. How are you, Enzo?
I'm alright,
All
Claire.
good?
I'm good. Yes, actually excited because I'm going to start a new job very soon.
Yeah.
So it's like a new chapter in my life blossoming.
It is, definitely. I feel like you manifested this.
Definitely, yes, definitely. I think
You did.
manifested it. No, definitely. I think one of my resolutions at the beginning of this year was to change my job, something that was more aligned to the things I want to do in the future.
Totally.
Yeah, so
Proud
definitely
of you.
it worked. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, the manifestation works, guys.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm excited. So it's gonna start next week. So yeah.
Was it weird leaving your old job? Were you just like closing the door?
I'm closing the door. I think it's time. I
Yeah.
mean, it was a bit of moments of like, oh, but then it's kind of like, yeah, it's fine. You know,
It's been a lot of your life though. 5 years.
Yeah, one more,
plus,
6.
Yeah.
So it's kind of basically my London life is in that job. So it's a bit like, wow. But at the same time, I was ready for, I think, a period of time to kind of move on.
Yeah.
So now it's a bit like, bye.
For sure.
So
Close the door, open a window.
Yes.
They say.
whatever she said, yes.
It's going to be a good new chapter for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, how are you? What's been everything?
I'm fine. I'm completely fine. I'm extremely busy at work. What's new? We're
What's
actually
new? Poor
growing
little
the
Claire.
nanny TikTok at the moment because I work with Sony managing.
So cool that you were with the nanny. It's kind of like such like an iconic
And
thing
I feel
to do.
like I'm like becoming Fran, and I feel like I relate to her on so many levels. But if
Interesting.
you don't know, it's a show from the 90s. But
Iconic show from the
it's
90s,
iconic
yeah.
show. It was really popular in Venezuela, wasn't it?
Yeah, I grew up watching it. Like, I think it was always like translated, obviously dubbed in Spanish.
Yeah.
I remember it a lot. It's iconic. I think the nanny is like.
Yeah.
I think from her
Timeless,
generation, everyone will know who she. I mean, her voice is so like iconic. The way she speaks.
Yeah, it's funny because it wasn't popular in the UK in the 90s.
Really?
I'd never heard of it before.
Really, you have no taste, guys.
Literally,
Like,
clearly,
Oh
obviously.
no, but I think it's very American as well.
It's super American,
right?
but it's so ahead of its time. And like, anyway, we're growing the TikTok. So if you
That's
if you
amazing.
want to, you can follow the nanny on TikTok. That's
Like,
me editing that.
yeah.
So,
Like, you better like it.
but
That's amazing. Really cool job to do.
Yeah, thank you, Lau.
Oh,
Thank
very
you.
nice. And you did a great job.
Thank you so much.
So, yeah, I
Whose
think-
week is it this week?
It's my week, guys. So get ready.
4?
Enzo's secret topic of the week.
We've been talking, I think we're always talking about this topic in and out in a different way.
The weather.
The
Is it the weather?
It's the weather, and we are already in that moment of talking about the weather and the podcast. No, I just wanted to talk a bit like, I don't know, I want to know points of view of, okay, I think it's a very complex topic, but it goes around men, which is always an issue, right?
Okay.
Like men, masculinity, sexuality.
Oh, cool.
How self-expression
I love
is
this.
like, judged for men. And I want to talk with you about it. I think it would be interesting to talk with a man, unlike you're useless today. No. It would be interesting to talk with a straight man about this as well, but I think I really want to talk with you because you, as a straight woman that is interested in men, you will obviously have opinions on this, and I've heard opinions from other straight women about this topic. So I'm kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to all of this starts because, as always, lately it's been like Harry Styles. I know you're not really a fan of Harry Styles, right? But the last, I don't know, couple of years, every single conversation about gender and about how you dress it's being around Harry Styles. I think if you go to Latin America, it's being a bit Bad Bunny, but I think Harry Styles being kind of how you will say
the pinnacle point of gender fluidity kind of thing.
Whatever all of that is. And it's kind of we always go back to the same thing of people being a bit not being totally comfortable about how he's expressing himself, about how he expresses femininity, or how he expresses his way of being, of his sexuality or dressing, and then came back again because he had like an interview with Rolling Stone. He spoke about his sexuality, and what I found interesting, and I feel like a lot of people condemn him a lot because he seems to be presumably a straight guy, being so comfortable with his sexuality that he has no problem to use what we think clothing is feminine.
Yeah.
And people seem to always judge him for that because it's kind of like, oh, you cannot be just straight and do it that kind of thing. And I feel this is an interesting conversation because I feel a lot of society, they have these boxes for men and for what masculinity is. And I feel the problem is people, they cannot just think about someone being straight and being feminine. I think there's those things they cannot put together. And this guy, it's being called like he's queerbaiting, he's faking it, he's not a real man, he's not actually straight, he's not that, blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of interesting because in this interview with Rolling Stone, what I think everything like, it making like a lot of noise because at one point he said like, oh, I'm experimenting my sexuality as all of us we should be doing kind of thing. So it was this quote from the article, basically he was saying like he's exploring his sexuality and like being like, he didn't say he's straight or he's gay.
Yeah.
Now he's dating woman, Olivia,
Wilde,
so people think, oh, he's straight. Yeah. But the thing is, he's very openly saying like how he's been exploring his sexuality in the way, whatever it is, with the clothing, or maybe with another man. We don't know. He doesn't have to specify that. But people seems to be very annoyed by the fact of a man exploring sexuality. It's its own sexuality, because a man, if you are a straight man, you shouldn't be able to explore anything. Whatever that means. Maybe for him it's with clothing. Maybe it's having sex with another man and checking if maybe trying to see if he actually likes it or not. This type of thing. And it's kind of interesting because then I read there's been a lot of articles around it, a lot of articles from for LGBTQ publications as well, saying like what we're doing, attacking him is really wrong, because we're basically telling people it's not okay to explore your sexuality. And there's this guy that is I think it's the editor-in-chief of like Out magazine. He was like, I consider myself very fluid, sometimes more bisexual, but I think mostly of the time I fall off with gay men as well. But the thing is, like, I feel this type of statements, like if we block this, we basically are telling people to not explore their feelings and not to explore their sexuality. And I think we're in an era, in a time that we should all be free to explore everything of who we are.
Yeah, definitely.
But kind of wrapping up all of these ideas.
Okay, so I feel like you want to talk about why it's not possible for straight men to do that kind of thing. Why do we think that is?
Yes, and also I want to know, like, because this is not only, I think gay men specifically, they have a problem with Harry Styles kind of being like queerbaiting kind of thing, like kind of faking like, being
like
gay,
Benito, for example,
like
as well.
It's that the thing. But also I feel there's a lot of things with straight women and why and how straight women perceive masculinity. And then I'm going back to you, Claire. I'm like, no, this is not judgmental, because this is the point of this. Talk about this and see where we go with this and why we feel the way we feel. But what it is, if you are, let's say, okay,
let it rip.
You are dating someone, you're having a boyfriend, and this boyfriend tells you, I want to explore more my sexuality. What will be your first response?
If I'm dating a guy and he says I want to explore my sexuality,
he's gay. Like, that's it.
Oh,
you are gay.
Go away. No, I would be like, number one,
being very honest about it. I just want you to be very honest how you will feel.
I think I would feel, honestly, thank you for telling me this and not cheating on me. Like, I would honestly be like, okay, thank you for, like we said on the cheating episode, plug again. I would much rather that somebody said like that, I want to explore with my sexuality, like whether it's a man or a woman, I would definitely prefer my boyfriend to want to explore with a man than a woman, 1000%, because I'm very jealous. So I would much rather that. But I would be like, but I would like to be involved. This is something like I don't want any, because I think one thing that I really value in like relationships is complete. You can't have complete, but honesty? As much openness as we can have, and I don't really like secrets.
Like,
so
I would like to see.
So exactly, so I'll be like there, like. Which is I'm here as well.
It's fair enough.
That's something that I could definitely be open to, like, but I would struggle more if it was like away from me. Which is kind of selfish as well.
Well, I mean,
but that's my answer.
Because I feel like, and I have felt I understand maybe it comes from, but I feel like a lot of straight women, they have an issue with men being more than what they should be, and I have perceived this.
In what way?
In the way they should behave, they should look like, they should act like. I feel like if you want as a boyfriend, whatever entitles means being a real man, you would expect your boyfriend to wear a skirt, because a skirt is very feminine. So I feel it comes a lot from that men, they don't have a lot of spaces to be who they are, because they're being judged for many angles.
Because of straight women and other men.
Including men. Like, from straight men, in this case, let's put Harry Styles in this. Like, Harry Styles is being judged by gay men, by straight men, and also by straight women, because I'm sure a lot of straight women, they'll think he's a weirdo.
It's true. I get what you mean. I feel... But isn't it like a matter of taste, right? Because we've had this conversation before that something that I worry about with myself is that, I've said this to you before, like I've been on dates with lovely guys, but for me, it's bad. I'll be honest, I'll just say this, that I will often say to Enzo, like, I feel like he's gay.
Because he's too nice.
Because he's too nice. But then that's really toxic to say that. But then it's like, I don't know, like, there are other things that are like influencing. Like, do I not think that he's somebody I would want to have sex with?
What I think, it kind of worries me in a way, that sometimes, and I'm not with this defending men and their behaviors, but I do feel sometimes it's difficult for men to find a space. Even though we're in different times, it shouldn't be like, it's way easier than before. And if you really want to, there's a lot of tools and a lot of spaces now to be open and expressive, and for a lot of people it's good to be an emotional man, all of that. But I feel sometimes a bit difficult, so the society, because at the end of the day we always feel a man being feminine, it's something that it's not totally okay. And I think even that translates to relationship. I wonder how comfortable you'll be to dating a guy that wears a skirt, you know, and you don't even wear skirts because you don't like skirts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And it's kind of interesting because I was kind of like trying to go on it, because I'm thinking I wouldn't date a guy that wears a skirt probably. I don't know. It made me think a lot. It's like, I don't know if like, but where did that come from? What's the issue? And we're talking about like clothing, and it's funny, like I was watching this video on YouTube of this blogger talking about this situation and masculinity and stereotypes. And it's funny because there was like this quote in Poland on the streets from the Bible. Like it was saying like, oh, like men shouldn't wear women clothing and women shouldn't be all of that. But then when you go back, like Jesus was wearing like a robe. It's a dress. I'm sorry. And if you go back to history, men, they used to wear like, I mean, men were the first one to use high heels. Come on.
And like togas.
And the toga. So, you know, like if we're going to base our opinion on what is good or bad, we have to make some sense, because we're being changing a lot of the time, a lot of different points. So what's the thing there that it makes us so maybe afraid, or make us so like rejecting when a man is not exactly behaving of what we believe a man should be?
I think I have a couple of things that to like pick up on what you said. I think like, again, it's that classic thing of like, I think we're just really like labels, and I think that's why we're really uncomfortable, and like it's taking a while, but we're getting there for things like gender fluidity, you know, fluidity within your sexuality to become in, because it's much easier for us. I think we're much more comfortable if it's like, he's gay or she's straight or da-da-da. And I think that's kind of a bit of where that comes from. And I think it's also just about like just centuries of like sexism as well. And like that's kind of what it is. And I think one thing's interesting though is about kind of what you were saying about like you wouldn't date, or you would think twice about dating a guy who wears a skirt. For example, it's like, what are the characteristics? Because say you like manly men, or I say the same, I like a man. But what does that even mean? Like, what qualities are that? Because often, in my case, for example, it's like they end up being totally not what I really want in a man at all, because it's not actually... Does that make sense? So I'm wondering...
It does make sense.
And then I feel like that is like what we want and expect is kind of going into like why we're so uncomfortable when somebody like Harry Styles kind of like kicks up against that. I think it's something about that maybe, you know?
I do understand you. And it's kind of like, I wonder where it comes from because, yes, we are, as you say, you're looking for things that once you get them, you are like, oh, this is not really what I like. Because maybe it's like a way of acting or behaving.
Exactly, and it's not real.
It's not real. It's a way of
facade.
It's a facade, right? On this YouTuber I was talking about before, we can link the video here so you can check it. She was mentioned like how masculinity was, on what the concept of being a man was created, and basically was obviously back in the day, like women when they get pregnant, obviously when you're pregnant you shouldn't do a lot of like physical things, really strong physical things, because you need to take care of the baby, blah 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 blah. So the man, they took during this period of time this kind of like a strong figure to kind of provide for the women, because the women was like in a bit of a state that couldn't like push as much. So from there it started this concept of men being men, and then stick forever. It's not only gonna be a help of, it's kind of like, okay, you're carrying my child, you're really carrying like a human, so for this period of time I'm gonna give you a hand, but it stopped being from that to being like men are superior and powerful, and you're always like in a position of. So it's kind of like where it comes from, the whole idea. And it's kind of interesting because men build this characteristic from this, because they have to be the providers, the one they want that are in power. So and I was like, interesting.
Because then it's like, for example, if a man displays feminine qualities, it's like, but you're not being a man. And it's like, this is where it all kind of runs in. And I always say, like, this is like, not to be like, oh, boohoo, poor straight men, but in a way, boohoo, poor straight men, because it's like, I think a lot of them have these things like, they need to be like a womanizer or fuck around or cheat on their girlfriend, for example, because they can, and so therefore they should. But some people probably don't really want to do that. Probably a lot of people do, but some people maybe don't.
Some cultures are also like, if you are a man in some cultures, you're expected to cheat, to be
like Latin culture, right? Yeah.
And like I think Caribbean cultures as well. Like, well, I mean, the whole Latin America, Caribbean, all of this is very like that. I think in some places more than others, of course, but then if you don't do it, you're not a proper man, or you're like a weak man. So you need to show your masculinity being that person, which, as you say, probably most people, they don't even want to, they're forced to play a character. And it's interesting because when we think about masculinity, and I think it's something that reflecting a lot lately, especially with our past conversations as well, it's kind of like, what does it even mean? I mean, it's all a performance. I mean, like, if I am feminine, I can play being feminine, and I will be a feminine man, and you can be a really tough and masculine woman, and it was just like a performance. It's just a role that you're playing at the end. Some of these I feel some of these qualities we want to display, they're not just natural, we just create them.
Very true.
Right?
Very true.
I mean, the idea of like, oh, a man needs to walk like super strong and a lady needs to walk like, oh my god, does it like, come on. You know, most of them it's all creations, and we taught our kids how they should do it. So, and it's not like I'm saying like it's wrong, but the problem is when we invalidate, when people feel
something a bit different,
or people feel like they could be both or they could be not. I don't know. I find it really fascinating.
It is really fascinating, and I think that's the thing, like, not to be really like hippie about it, but there is obviously, well, I guess I believe people believe that there's like masculine and feminine in both of us. Obviously, like yin and yang. There really is.
There's
like there is an element of both.
It comes from an energy, I guess.
Yeah, an energy.
More than a piece of clothing, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Like that, so. And that's a really good point that you said in a way, because it isn't actually about like the external stuff. It's not about like And in a way, probably like the qualities that you want to be a good man and I want to be a good woman are probably the same.
Yeah.
We probably want to be
the core of it.
Loyal, hardworking, caring, empathetic, blah, 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 blah. So really, like, it's kind of bizarre that we've given... To be a good woman, you need these qualities. To be blah, blah, blah. To be a good man, and actually, like, it doesn't come from anything external, like painting your nails. If you're a man, it comes from who you are, like your soul.
Exactly.
And I think, like, that's something that we really need to get over. And I think, I don't know.
I find interesting, like, this popular character. I mean, this is not new. Obviously, like, back in the day, David Bowie, we have many examples, like Prince, of men. It's always, like, men in the arts or performative spaces. They do it because they have kind of like a
shield,
and they have a bit like a free space to be in because no one will touch you, even though, like, I mean, we're talking about Harry Styles, but still, well, in his case it's interesting because I think he's been very judged because there are different times and we have more media and more spaces, because back in the day, like, maybe someone will talk about David Bowie in the newspaper, but it's not the same way we do now. But I think
I was going to say something, sorry, about Harry Styles that just suddenly struck me compared to those other examples that you were giving. But I wonder if a lot of straight women come for him because he's kind of a heartthrob, right, Harry Styles? Like, people, like, loved him in, like, One Direction that he was from, right? Like, maybe it's, like, I was thinking of somebody, like, literally just off the top of my head, like David Beckham or something had done that, or like had been like been kind of experimenting. Would there be more of a kind of backlash? Because, for example, it's always really strange when I find that, like, somebody has a crush on a celebrity, like a male celebrity, say, and then he comes out as gay, and then the woman is like, oh my god, no. And it's like, but it doesn't really matter because you weren't going to meet him anyway. So maybe that's a lot more of where the hate is coming from as well with Harry Styles.
Interesting. Yeah, it could be as well.
But that's so bizarre.
It's so bizarre. I think it may come from that. I don't know, interesting. But I think I feel this is a topic that we need to keep talking about it because it's so, like, fascinating. And something I heard, like, I think it really, like, stayed with me. I heard, it is nothing bad or good about this, what I'm going to say, but I heard people saying, like, or women saying, like, even though his way of behaving, his way of dressing is very feminine, he's still very masculine looking with the feminine clothing. So it's kind of, like, interesting.
Wow, and what, that's kind of okay kind of thing, or...
I'm wondering, that's something that stayed with me, kind of like, so it's interesting that we think, like, he still looks masculine while wearing something feminine. So it's kind of like, what is this about it? Kind of like how, like, this... You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I think it could be also an example of Bad Bunny. Like, he still can look masculine, very being feminine. But then it's kind of like, is this good? Is this bad? Why we need to put this label? Why it's a good thing to still look masculine while you're wearing feminine clothing?
Because he's still a man and not a woman.
Yeah.
Or then he's not trans, for example. He is still a man,
still a cis man,
just wearing feminine clothes.
Because I always find very interesting how clothing has always been this point of breaking point for different moments of history. You love that topic, don't you, love? I think lately, it's because it comes up all the time.
Yeah, it does.
And lately, I'm a bit like, why are we still talking about Harry Styles wearing, like, a female? Who cares? Like, he wears whatever he wants to wear. Why is that so important?
And also, I think it's this thing of, like, if you, for example, maybe in my case, like, I like more of a typically masculine, like, I like a beard, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then, like, I just won't go for a guy who paints his nails. And that's okay. Because it's not my... There's nothing wrong with that person, or that man. It's just not my type. Like, I won't be the type for somebody who likes somebody with, like, blonde hair and blue eyes. And that's okay. It's just not your vibe. You know,
I think also what you're saying, that I think that it's a lot of, like, men not being able to have as many options of to be themselves. How I put this, for example, what you're saying, that it's very valid, because, for example, if I think a man can have the option, if as a straight man, to see what type of girl he likes. He has more options. Like, well, I mean, if she wears, like, she's too, like, sexy clothing, I don't like that in a girl. I want more like a sporty girl, or like more a girl that eats, like, more fashion, like a girl more simple. And it has this, like, women has all these different opportunities to be many ways and be all good, because no one will criticize you. Well, there's some spaces that still, but what I mean is like, it's okay if you want to be more masculine, if you don't want to wear that right, blah, blah, blah. But for a man, I think it's more like, oh, you need to wear like a shirt and jeans. More than that, it's a bit complicated. It would be interesting for women to be like, oh, that guy is wearing like painting his nail. I don't like that in a guy. Cool, but good for him. But I don't like that. Oh, he's wearing a skirt. It's not my vibe. I prefer a guy who wears shirts. The same as men they do with women. Oh no, I prefer like a sporty girl. I will go more for a girl that likes to running every single day.
But I have a question for you.
Yes.
Will the delicate male ego be able to handle that level of rejection that women are used to?
You are so right.
Will they be able to handle that, you know? Because they won't. Like straight men,
And that's the problem, because women, they have to be like, if you are, for example, a sexy girl, you will be rejected for some girl because they, oh, she's a slut, for example.
Exactly.
And then you will be rejected. But for men, they won't be able to, because that's so right.
You know?
So maybe that's why also men, they like to stay in their own little boxes and
Maybe.
be like, I'm a masculine man,
And also,
I do this because I have less opportunities to be rejected.
And this is when men get rejected in any form. It's like, ugh, the burn, the ego burn. But it is. They burn. Like, it's really like a lot that women don't react in that way.
Because
and I think it's something like that.
And it's shit because you're so used to be rejected for so many different reasons.
Or told
men.
about yourself or something.
So
but with straight men, it's like, it really, because they haven't had that, I think.
Interesting. I wonder if it is part of what it's blocking, the evolution
probably.
of men.
They need to kind of lessen that ego a lot, I think.
Go to therapy.
Go to therapy.
Go to therapy, most likely. Anyway, I'm just curious about this topic. I will ask around my friends because I do really want to know, like, how do we feel about men wearing things that are different to what they're supposed to? I think it's a very interesting topic. And I found, like, how women feel so rejected about men looking feminine. I found like a really interesting topic. Like, can you imagine like the father of your kids like wearing makeup and like a skirt?
Well, maybe, but it's just because it's not my taste, you know? But then again, maybe I should challenge myself. I really should. Maybe I should challenge what I think of as masculinity. I think I'm going to do that exercise, I think, and I'll get back to you. What I actually think of as masculine. What I think it is and what it actually is. And maybe you should do the same as well. Because
I like this.
I think I know what femininity means to me because I am a woman. But with a man, I think I know what it is, but I don't think that's right. Because I think I go for that and then I'm like, really like, oh no, that's just really shit, isn't it? Like, you know, emotionally unavailable or something like that. And it's so, I would be curious to see.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure also we always said the new generation, they won't have these problems.
They won't have to
they're
do this.
so like fluid and so like, I don't know, I want to be with a man that looks like a dolphin.
Exactly.
With a dolphin costume, I'll be like, I'll go for it. You know, it's kind of like so much so many less like things.
Yeah.
Good exercise. I think we should come up with this.
Sure.
I will do it as well. Then we comment in the next episode.
Well, great, love. Thank you very much for the topic.
Yeah,
and thank you for watching and listening.
2 cents about this. I'm still on my quest to understand a bit more of masculinity and men issues and things like that.
Sure.
I think there's something like we need to talk. And
Definitely.
I hope like some men come forward and like
come forward.
Some men
Show yourself.
I will ask my family. I will be that person now, asking uncomfortable questions to my family.
They're all gonna block you.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask my brother. I'm gonna go to my cousin. I'm gonna all of them. So you better get ready because I'm going for all of you. Okay.
Oh yeah. Bye guys.
Thank you very
Take
much
care.
for listening to us, and remember to you're like bye everyone. Like
Enzo, please.
Like, please, like what do you want from me?
Reel this man in.
Remember to follow us, subscribe, all of these things. Thank you so much for supporting us. Yeah, Claire, can you be
bye
like
guys. Bye.